Mr. Hayes, can you hear me? Are you awake? A blinding white light forced my eyes shut. My head was splitting, throbbing agony like someone had taken a sledgehammer to my skull. I fought to open my eyes again and saw a woman I didn't recognize, anxiously speaking into her phone. Ms. Reed, it's me. Ethan's awake. Do you want to come see him? A woman's voice on the other end, cold and detached, cut through the haze. Can he talk? If he can talk, tell him to get a ride home. I don't have time for this. The line went dead. The woman sighed, turning to find me staring at her. How are you feeling? Who are you? My voice was a rough, unfamiliar rasp. She blinked. I'm Liz, Ms. Reed's executive assistant. You were in a car accident, Mr. Hayes. You've been in the hospital for 3 days. A car accident? I clawed at my memory, but there was nothing. A blank, terrifying void. Who's Ms. Reed? Liz's expression shifted, becoming guarded. Ms. Reed is your wife, Charlotte Reed. You've been married for 5 years. I shot upright, the room spinning violently. Married? I'm 23 years old. How could I possibly be married? Mr. Hayes, Liz said, her tone cautious. You're 28. She paused. Do you think you might have amnesia? I scrambled out of bed and into the adjoining bathroom. The face in the mirror made me suck in a sharp breath. It was my face, yes, but older, harder. There were fine lines around the eyes, a deep-seated exhaustion in their gaze that wasn't there before. This wasn't possible. I was a junior in college. How had 5 years vanished? And a wife. You really don't remember? Liz had followed me, her voice soft with concern. You and Ms. Reed were married 5 years ago. Although, she trailed off, looking uncomfortable. Although what? Nothing. She forced a smile. Let me give you a ride home. In the car, I scrolled through the phone Liz had handed me. The photo gallery only deepened my confusion. There were hundreds of pictures of me with a woman, but in every shot, I was the one leaning in, my expression adoring, while hers was a mask of cool indifference, sometimes bordering on annoyance. This was my wife, Charlotte Reed. Wait, the name echoed in the canyons of my mind. A fuzzy image surfaced. The untouchable queen of the business school, the ice princess I'd had a hopeless crush on for 2 years, but never dared to approach. I married her. The car pulled up to a sprawling, modern villa setback from the road. We're here, Liz said. This is your home. I pushed open the heavy oak door. The cavernous living room was empty except for a single woman sitting on a stark white sofa, her back to me. She looked up as the door clicked shut, and her face, so exquisitely beautiful it stole my breath, was undeniably Charlotte's. More stunning than I remembered, but her eyes were arctic pools of ice. You're back, she stated, the question absent from her tone. It was as if she were addressing a delivery person. I've already taken care of the hospital bill. You can keep staying here, but don't bother me when I'm working. She stood, her movements fluid and elegant. I'm in the master suite. You have the guest room. Wait, I called out as she started for the grand staircase. Are we really married? She turned, a flicker of something, mockery perhaps, in her eyes. What? You're addicted to playing the amnesia card now. Ethan, that act doesn't work on me. I really don't remember anything. Whatever, she scoffed. You've always been a good actor. You've used every dirty trick in the book to keep me tied to you. What's this new game? As her footsteps faded upstairs, I stood frozen in the foyer, my mind reeling. What kind of marriage was this? Why did my wife treat me with such utter contempt? What the hell happened in the last 5 years? I sat in the silent living room until dusk turned to night. Charlotte never came back down. The house was oppressively quiet. Searching for clues, I found a few fragments of my life. Our marriage certificate, tucked away in a drawer, confirmed the date, 5 years ago. But the house itself was devoid of warmth. The master bedroom door was locked. The guest room held little more than a bed and a dresser. My section of the closet contained a handful of cheap, worn-out clothes. The contacts on my phone were even stranger. Besides Charlotte and a few work numbers, it was almost empty. What kind of life had I been living? The next morning, I woke up on the living room sofa, my neck stiff. I hadn't been able to sleep, my mind a churning mess of questions. Charlotte was already at the dining table, a housekeeper quietly setting out breakfast. Good morning, sir, the housekeeper said respectfully, placing a plate in front of me. I sat down opposite Charlotte, the silence between us a tangible thing. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. I have an important meeting today, she said, not looking up from her tablet. You'd better not pull one of your usual stunts and show up at the office. Stunts? A cold, bitter laugh. Don't play dumb, Ethan. Every time you suspect something between me and Julian, you storm into my company and make a scene, turning us into a laughingstock for the entire office. Julian? The name sent an unfamiliar jolt through me. Who's he? My business partner. She set down her fork, her eyes finally meeting mine, hard as steel. Ethan, I'm warning you for the last time. Stop harassing him. If you don't, you won't like the consequences. She grabbed her designer handbag and stood to leave. Wait, I said, my voice rising. If things are this bad between us, why don't we just get a divorce? She paused at the door, her back to me. For a moment, her posture seemed less rigid. When she turned, her expression was a complex mix of emotions I couldn't decipher. You were the one who practically begged me to marry you. Now you want a divorce. I just think this kind of marriage is torture for both of us. The laugh was sharp, cynical. Ethan, don't try to play games with me. I don't have time for your little dramas. The front door slammed shut, leaving me alone in the vast, empty dining room. After forcing down some breakfast, I found my work ID. I was a junior copywriter at a small-time ad agency, pulling in 60 grand a year, maybe. Charlotte, on the other hand, was the CEO of a tech startup valued at over $100 million. The disparity was staggering. Suddenly, I understood. With my life, my job, I was completely out of her league. But why had I been so desperate to marry her in the first place? The question gnawed at me on the drive to my office. As I walked in, a young woman rushed toward me, her eyes red-rimmed. Ethan, you're finally here, she cried. I heard you were in an accident. I was so worried. I took a step back. I'm sorry, you are? It's me, Leah. She looked stunned. You don't recognize me? Her name meant nothing to me. But her reaction told me we must have been close. I'm sorry, I said gently. I have amnesia. She stared at me, her face blank, and then tears started streaming down her cheeks. How could this happen? Hey, don't cry, I said, fumbling for a way to comfort her. Were we good friends? We've been colleagues for 3 years, she said, wiping her eyes. You really don't remember anything? I shook my head. For the rest of the morning, Leah patiently walked me through my projects, her explanations clear and concise. She was incredibly kind. Ethan, are you free for lunch? She asked tentatively as noon approached. What's up? I was thinking we could go to that deli we always used to go to. Maybe it would help you remember something. I was about to agree when my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. Ethan, a man's voice said, It's Julian Carter. My heart hammered against my ribs. What do you want? Are you free for lunch? We need to talk. Talk about what? About you and Charlotte. He paused. I'll be waiting at our old spot. After he hung up, I turned to Leah. Sorry, something's come up. Disappointment flickered in her eyes, but she managed to smile. No problem. Maybe next time. Following the address Julian texted me, I arrived in an upscale steakhouse downtown. He was already seated in a private booth, a smirk playing on his lips as I walked in. So, the amnesia is real? I nodded, sizing him up. He was undeniably impressive, handsome, impeccably dressed, radiating an aura of casual power. He and Charlotte would look perfect together. I guess it is, he said, pouring me a glass of iced tea. In that case, I'll be blunt. Ethan, you and Charlotte are not a good match. You don't have to tell me. I can see that for myself. His eyebrows shot up. Oh, I've already asked her for a divorce. Julian was visibly taken aback. Then he laughed. You gotta be kidding me. You're the guy who was willing to kill himself to marry her. Kill myself? A cold dread washed over me. Seeing my expression, Julian pressed on. 5 years ago, Charlotte was about to move to New York with me to launch the company. When you found out, you slit your wrist to force her to marry you. He leaned back, savoring the story. Her parents panicked, afraid you'd actually do it, so they talked her into it. But as you can see, these 5 years have been hell for her. I gripped my glass, my knuckles white. If that's true, why didn't she divorce me? Because you kept threatening her, Julian sneered. Faking illnesses, self-harm, harassing her business partners. You'd stoop to anything to keep her. So that's the kind of man I was. Ethan, if you've really lost your memory, consider it a gift from God. Julian leaned forward, his voice low and intense. Let her go, for her sake, and for your own. I left the restaurant with Julian's words echoing in my head, a nauseating cacophony of shame and disbelief. If what he said was true, I wasn't just a bad husband. I was a monster, a manipulative, pathetic excuse for a man who'd used suicide to trap a woman who didn't love him. No wonder Charlotte treated me with such cold fury. If I were her, I'd have done far worse. Back at the office, Leah approached my desk. You look pale. Are you okay? I'm fine. I lied, forcing a smile. Oh, right, this is for you. She handed me a small, silver key. It's for your desk drawer. You always kept your important things locked up in there. I unlocked the drawer and pulled out a worn notebook. The first page was dated March 15th, 2019. The handwriting was mine. I finally married her. I married Charlotte. She doesn't love me yet, but that's okay. I'll spend the rest of my life making her fall in love with me. I flipped through the pages, my stomach churning. Each entry was a testament to a growing, terrifying obsession. She went to see Julian again. I hate him so much. Tried to follow her to the office today. Security threw me out. I cut my arm. She finally looked at me. My hand started to shake. Had I really written this? Was this paranoid, pathetic person really me? Ethan, Leah's voice pulled me back to the present. Did you know? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. About. Why was like? She bit her lip, her gaze full of a pity I couldn't stand. I knew. Some of it. Tell me. Are you sure you want to hear it? I nodded. Leah took a deep breath. When I started here 3 years ago, you were already like that. Always on edge, constantly calling check up on her, or just ditching work to follow her around. One time, you got into a screaming match with her on the street below her office building because you thought she was cheating. The cops had to come. Another time, you got drunk and were sobbing, telling me you'd rather die than lose her. She looked at me sadly. I tried to tell you so many times that a marriage like that wasn't healthy, but you always said your life was meaningless without her. I closed my eyes, a wave of profound shame washing over me. But you weren't all bad, Leah added, her voice soft. I always thought you were a good person, deep down. You just loved the wrong way. Good. I let out a bitter laugh. What's good about a lunatic who uses suicide to blackmail someone? No, that's not what I mean, she said, her voice rising with emotion. You were kind to everyone at work. You'd bring in donuts for the team. You'd order pizza when we worked late. Don't you remember? Well, I got sick last year and had to go to the ER. You paid my bill because I couldn't afford it. She looked at me earnestly. You just got lost in your obsession with her. If you could just let that go, you could be so much happier. Let go. Easier said than done, apparently. That evening, I didn't go home. I wandered the city streets aimlessly. As I passed a small flower shop, the owner smiled warmly at me. Mr. Hayes, no flowers today. Do I come here often? Every week, like clockwork, she said brightly. For your wife. You always said you were buying them for her. She chuckled. Even though you told me, she always threw them out. You never stopped trying. Another mortifying truth. It was late when I finally returned to the villa. The living room lights were on. Charlotte was on the sofa, a laptop perched on her knees, her fingers flying across the keyboard. You're back, she said, not looking up. I sat in the armchair across from her. We need to talk. About what? The divorce. Her fingers stilled. She slowly raised her head, her eyes searching mine. Are you serious? I am. Julian came to see me. Everything he said. It's true, isn't it? She was silent for a long moment. And, I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. I don't remember doing those things, but I'm sorry for the man I was. I'll cooperate fully. We can make this quick and clean. Charlotte just stared at me, her expression unreadable. Finally, she closed her laptop. I'm tired. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Watching her retreat up the stairs, a strange sense of relief washed over me. I couldn't undo the past, but at least I could start to make things right. That night, my sleep was haunted by fragmented dreams. Shouting, crying, a desperate, suffocating clinginess that felt both foreign and terrifyingly familiar. Maybe this amnesia was a blessing, a chance to see the wreckage of my life from the outside. First thing the next morning, I went to see a divorce lawyer. If both parties are in agreement, it's a very straightforward process, he explained, peering at me over his glasses. Regarding the division of assets, what are your terms? I don't want anything. The lawyer looked up, surprised. Mr. Hayes, while the house is premarital property, you are still entitled to a portion of the assets accumulated during the marriage. I don't need it, I said, shaking my head. I'm the one who owes her. I went straight from the lawyer's office to Charlotte's company. The receptionist recognized me instantly, her professional smile tightening. Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry, but Ms. Reed is in a meeting. I'll wait. But she trailed off, clearly uncomfortable. I understood her hesitation. Don't worry, I said quietly. I'm not here to cause a scene. I waited in the gleaming, minimalist lobby for 2 hours. Finally, the elevator doors slid open and Charlotte emerged, deep in conversation with Julian. They were laughing. When she saw me, her smile vanished, and her face hardened. What are you doing here? To talk about the divorce. I held out a folder. I had a separation agreement drafted. See if there's anything you want to add. Julian stared at me, dumbfounded. Charlotte took the folder, her eyes scanning the pages, her brow furrowing deeper with every line she read. You're not asking for anything? That's right. Ethan, what new game are you playing now? She sneered. Is this some kind of reverse psychology? No, I said calmly, meeting her gaze. I'm being sincere. I want to end this mistake of a marriage. Charlotte, we both deserve a fresh start. She studied my face for a long time, searching for a crack in my resolve, a hint of the old manipulation. Finding none, she finally nodded. Fine. She snapped the folder shut. City Hall. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Wait, Julian interjected suddenly. Charlotte, are you sure you don't want to think about this? What's there to think about? She shot back, her eyes flashing. Isn't this what you've always wanted? Julian opened his mouth, then closed it again, defeated. Leaving the towering glass building, I felt surprisingly light. A burden I didn't even know I was carrying had been lifted. I still felt a deep sense of guilt towards Charlotte, but I knew I was finally doing the right thing. When I got home that evening, the dining table was set for two. Let's have dinner together, Charlotte said, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. One last time, we ate in silence. It wasn't uncomfortable, just quiet. She seemed to want to say something, but kept stopping herself. You really don't remember anything at all? She asked finally, after the plates were cleared. No, our first meeting. It was in the university library, she said, staring out the window into the dark. You knocked over my coffee and spilled it all over my notes. I searched my mind, but it was a blank slate. You were so flustered, apologizing over and over, insisting on buying me a new notebook. A sad, faint smile touched her lips. I'd already noticed you by then. Actually, you were always trying to steal glances at me when you thought I wasn't looking. I'm sorry. What are you apologizing for? She turned back from the window. If I had just been clearer from the start, been more forceful in my rejection, maybe things never would have gotten this far. It wasn't your fault. She stood up. Get some rest. We have to be up early tomorrow. That night, I tossed and turned. Charlotte's words made me wonder if the beginning of our story hadn't been entirely one-sided. But it was too late now. There was no going back. The next morning, I arrived at City Hall at 8:30. Charlotte was already there, looking severe and elegant in a black pantsuit. You're here, she said, handing me a document. I made some changes. I opened it. She had added a clause to the asset division, a $3 million payment to me. You don't have to do this. Take it, she said, her tone flat and non-negotiable. Consider it. Severance pay. I wanted to refuse, but the look in her eyes told me it was pointless. I nodded. The process was quick, impersonal. Half an hour later, we walked out into the bright, morning sun, each holding a copy of the divorce decree. Goodbye, Charlotte. She turned to leave. Charlotte, I called after her. She looked back over her shoulder. I hope you find happiness. She froze. Then, for the first time since I'd woken up in the hospital, a genuine smile spread across her face. You too, Ethan. Watching her walk away, a whirlwind of emotions churned inside me. I had no memory of our past, but I could feel the ghost of it, a profound sense of loss. The man I used to be must have loved her to the point of madness. He just loved her the wrong way at the wrong time. After the divorce, I moved out of the villa and rented a small one-bedroom apartment near my office. Life suddenly became very simple. No more suspicion, no more second-guessing, no more emotional minefields. My days fell into a quiet rhythm. Work, home, and the occasional dinner out with colleagues. Leah was amazed by the change in me. It's like you're a completely different person. Maybe this is who I was supposed to be all along, I said. She smiled. Well, I like this version. One afternoon about a month later, I was in the grocery store when I ran into Charlotte. She was pushing a cart filled with household basics, and she looked startled to see me. Hey, I said, breaking the awkward silence. Long time no see. Yeah, she replied, her voice a little strained. How are you? Good, really good. You? I'm fine. The air crackled with unspoken history. As I was about to say goodbye, she stopped me. Ethan. Yeah, that day at City Hall, there was something I wanted to tell you. She bit her lip. But it's in the past now. It doesn't matter. What was it? She just shook her head. Nothing important. Take care of yourself. She hurried away, leaving me more confused than ever. But I quickly dismissed it. We were divorced. Her life wasn't my business anymore. Another month passed. Then, one evening, Julian showed up at my office building. Got time for a coffee? We found a quiet table in a nearby cafe. What's up? I asked. He stirred his drink, avoiding my eyes. Charlotte, she hasn't been doing well lately. Oh, I had no idea how to respond to that. She's always distracted, unfocused at work. I thought the divorce would be a relief for her. But it seems like the opposite is true. He finally looked at me. I need to ask you, do you really not remember anything about your past? Nothing. He sighed a long, weary sound. Maybe it's for the best. Some things are better left forgotten. As he stood to leave, he paused. You know, your marriage. It wasn't entirely your fault. I frowned. What do you mean? Nothing. He waved a dismissive hand. Just talking. His words stuck with me. That night, I pulled out the old notebook again, searching for more clues. Toward the end, the tone of the entries had started to shift. She texted me today, just to ask if I'd eaten, but she texted first. She said work has been stressful. We went for a walk after dinner. Today is our 3rd anniversary. She remembered. She actually bought me a gift. The further I read, the more I could feel a fragile truce forming between us. So why had it all fallen apart? I found the last entry, dated just 3 months ago, right before the accident. She told me she might be pregnant. I was so happy, so excited, I said some stupid things. I told her that a baby would mean she could never leave me. That would finally make Julian give up. She got so angry. She said she'd rather not have a child at all if it was just going to be a pawn in my game. We had a huge fight. I threatened her. I said if she got rid of it, I'd kill myself. She looked at me, her eyes dead, and said, "Then go ahead." The diary ended there. So that was it. We had fought about a baby. I closed the notebook, a heavy, complicated weight settling in my chest. This marriage was far more complex than I'd realized. It wasn't just a story of a villain and a victim. It was a story of 2 broken people trapped in a toxic cycle. The next day at work, Leah approached my desk, her expression hesitant. "Ethan, is your ex-wife pregnant?" My heart stopped. "What? How do you know that?" "A colleague saw her at the hospital yesterday," Leah said, watching me carefully. "In the OB/GYN clinic." "You didn't know? Pregnant?" If it was true, the baby had to be. I couldn't sit still. I told my boss I had a family emergency and drove straight to the hospital. After wandering the maternity ward for what felt like an eternity, I was about to give up when I heard a nurse call out. "Number 32, Charlotte Reed." I turned. She was walking out of a doctor's office, a folder of papers clutched in her hand. When she saw me, her face went white as a sheet. "What are you doing here?" Charlotte's first instinct was to hide the medical chart behind her back. "Leah said she saw you here," I said, my eyes fixed on her. "Are you pregnant?" She was silent for a few seconds, her jaw tight. Then she let out a short, cold laugh. "So what if I am? What does it have to do with you? If it's my child, it has everything to do with me." "It's not," she said, her voice sharp and definite. "We've been divorced for over 2 months. How could it possibly be yours?" I looked straight into her eyes. "Charlotte, don't lie to me. I have no reason to lie." She tried to push past me. "Please, just leave me alone." I caught her wrist. "Let me see the chart. Let go of me." In the struggle, the papers slipped from her grasp and scattered across the floor. I bent down and picked one up. The words leaped out at me. Gestation, 12 weeks. 12 weeks. 3 months. The timing was perfect. "It's my child," I said, looking up at her. She bit her lip, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "So what? It's my child. It has nothing to do with you. How can it have nothing to do with me? I'm the father. You're not my husband anymore," she shot back, snatching the papers from my hand. "Ethan, we're divorced. You need to accept that. But the baby is innocent." She took a deep, shuddering breath. "I will take care of my child. I don't need your help." "Charlotte." "Enough." She cut me off, her voice cracking. "You have amnesia, right? You don't remember anything? Then just pretend this child has nothing to do with you." She turned and fled down the hallway, leaving me standing alone, my world tilting on its axis. She was pregnant with my child and had never intended to tell me. If I hadn't found out by chance, I might have gone my entire life without knowing. Back at the office, I couldn't focus. Leah could tell something was wrong. "So, it's true? It's your baby?" I nodded numbly. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I said with a bitter laugh. "She doesn't want me involved." Leah was quiet for a moment. "Ethan, I can kind of see her side of it." "What do you mean?" "Think about it. Your marriage was so painful for her. She finally got free. The last thing she wants is to be tied to you again because of a baby. But I'm the father." "I know you are. But what can you offer the child right now?" Leah's gaze was serious, but not unkind. "A father with amnesia, an unstable job, a tiny income. She can give the baby a much better life on her own." Her words hit me like a bucket of ice water. She was right. What could I possibly give them? That night, I couldn't sleep. All I could see was Charlotte's face at the hospital, her eyes red, her tough exterior finally cracking. Maybe I should just stay away. But the thought of her going through a pregnancy alone, carrying our child, I couldn't bear it. The next day, I went to her company. The receptionist saw me and immediately picked up the phone. "Ms. Reed says she's not available to see you. I'll wait for her to finish work." I waited all day. At 8 o'clock that evening, she finally emerged from the elevator. She frowned when she saw me still there. "You haven't left? I want to talk about the baby." "There's nothing to talk about." "Charlotte, I know you hate me, but the baby is innocent," I said, my voice earnest. "I'm not asking for us to get back together. I want to be a father. I want to do my part." She studied me for a long time. "And how do you plan on doing that?" "I can pay child support. It won't be much, but it's something. After the baby is born, I'd like visitation rights." I took a breath. "And during the pregnancy, If you need anything at all, I'll be there. She was silent. Charlotte, I know the old me hurt you terribly. But please believe me, the man I am now genuinely wants to make things right. Make things right. She gave a small, humorless laugh. Ethan, some things can't be fixed. I know. But please, let me try. Finally, she seemed to relent. Fine. But I have conditions. Anything. First, you don't tell anyone about the baby. Second, you do not interfere in my personal life. Third, if I feel your presence is negatively affecting my child, I can ask you to leave, and you will. Deal. After our agreement, I began to exist on the periphery of Charlotte's life, a satellite in a fixed orbit, under the official title of the baby's father. I went with her to every prenatal checkup. I did her grocery shopping and cooked her meals. If she craved something in the middle of the night, I went and got it. Strawberries, she said, her voice husky with sleep when she called at 2 in the morning. I immediately got dressed, hopped on my beat-up scooter, and scoured the city for a 24-hour market. They're too sour, she declared after one bite, pushing the carton away. Without a word, I turned around and went back out to find other kinds of fruit. You don't have to do all this, she said later, looking at the mountain of produce on her kitchen counter. I'm not helpless. Pregnant women have cravings. They're unpredictable. It's better to be prepared. She watched me for a long moment. You've changed, Ethan. Maybe this is who I always was underneath it all. She didn't respond. When Julian found out, he confronted me. What do you think you're doing? Fulfilling my responsibility as a father. Don't be naive, he sneered. You really think this is going to win her back? I'm not trying to win anything. I just don't want to be absent from my child's life. He looked like he wanted to say more, but held his tongue. The weeks turned into months, and Charlotte's belly grew. She continued to work herself to the bone. I begged her to slow down, but she always insisted she was fine. Until the day she collapsed in her office. I rushed to the hospital. She was already awake when I got there. The doctor said you're suffering from exhaustion, I said, sitting by her bed. This isn't good for the baby, Charlotte. I know my limits. You know what? You clearly don't. I snapped, my voice louder than I intended. Do you think you're made of steel? She stared at me, shocked. It was probably the first time the new amnesiac me had ever raised his voice to her. I'm sorry, I said, reining in my emotions. I was worried about you and the baby. I know, she whispered. Thank you. After that scare, she did cut back on her hours. One afternoon, after a checkup, the doctor suggested she take more walks. I was walking with her through the hospital's small garden when she spoke. Have you started remembering anything? No. Why do you ask? The way you just helped me over that curb. It was exactly the same way you used to do it. I had been experiencing flashes of déjà vu lately, fleeting feelings of familiarity, but the memories themselves remained stubbornly out of reach. Must be muscle memory. She smiled faintly and let it drop. As her due date approached, she announced, I want to go to my mother's house to have the baby. Why? My mom lives there. She can help take care of me. It made sense. What about me? You can come with me, she said, after a slight hesitation. If you want. Of course I want to. While we were packing her things, I saw the divorce decree in her desk drawer. She kept it right on top, where she would see it every day. A constant reminder, perhaps, that we were no longer bound to each other. When we arrived at her mother's house, I was surprised by her warm reception. Ethan, you're here. Her mom, Mrs. Reed, greeted me with a smile. It must have been a long drive. You look tired. Hello, Mrs. Reed. Mom, we're divorced, Charlotte reminded her dryly. I know that, her mother said, giving her daughter a meaningful look. But the baby is still Ethan's. That night, Mrs. Reed cooked a huge dinner. During the meal, she asked about my amnesia. So you really don't remember a thing? No, ma'am, she sighed. Well, maybe it's for the best. Some things are better left in the past. Charlotte put down her fork. Mom, don't. I'm just saying, her mother said, then turned to me. Ethan, what's past is past. What matters is what you do now. In the week leading up to the due date, I checked into a small hotel near Mrs. Reed's house. Every morning, I'd go over to walk with Charlotte. We'd have lunch together, and I'd stay until she fell asleep for the night. Mrs. Reed saw it all, but said nothing. You don't have to be so nervous, Charlotte said one afternoon, amused by my constant pacing. You're not the one giving birth. How can I not be nervous? I said, stopping to look at her. What if something happens? The hospital is 5 minutes away. What could possibly happen? Despite her logic, I was a wreck. I even timed the drive from her house to the hospital, just in case. Finally, in the dead of night, it began. Charlotte's water broke. Don't panic, she said, somehow calmer than I was. Just grab the bags. I fumbled with the pre-packed hospital bags while Mrs. Reed called for a car. At the hospital, Charlotte was whisked away into a delivery room. Mrs. Reed and I were left to wait. First time being a dad is nerve-wracking, isn't it? Mrs. Reed asked gently. Yeah, I couldn't stop checking my watch. Don't worry. Charlotte is strong and healthy. Everything will be fine. But I was terrified. Even without my memories, the last few months had forged a powerful bond. I loved this woman and the child she was carrying more than I could have imagined. The wait was agonizing. Finally, a nurse emerged, smiling. Congratulations. You have a healthy baby girl. My knees went weak and I nearly collapsed. Is the baby's mom okay? Yes. Mother and daughter are both doing perfectly. When I was allowed into the room, Charlotte looked exhausted but radiant, her eyes shining with a new light. Look, she whispered, our daughter. She held a tiny, bundled infant. I reached out with trembling hands and took the baby from her. My own eyes filled with tears, and they streamed down my face. What are you crying for? She asked, her voice weak but laced with amusement. I'm just so happy. I choked out, wiping my face. Thank you, Charlotte. She looked at me, her gaze soft and complex. I should be the one thanking you. These last few months, you've been incredible. The baby stirred in my arms, making a small, squeaking sound. In that moment, the entire world seemed to shrink down to the three of us, and everything felt right. After they were discharged, we went back to Charlotte's house. Mrs. Reed hired a maternity nurse, but I insisted on staying to help. You don't have to be here every day, Charlotte said. You have a job to get back to. I took paternity leave. She looked surprised. Your company offers paternity leave? No, I took unpaid personal leave. She fell silent. In the weeks that followed, I learned to change diapers, mix formula, and soothe the crying baby. I was clumsy at first, but I slowly got the hang of it. You really don't remember anything? She asked one night as I was rocking the baby. No. Why? Nothing. She watched us for a moment. It's just, if you hadn't lost your memory, I don't think you would be like this. Is this not good? It's very good, she said softly. Much better than before. I didn't know what before was like, but I knew that this felt right. On the day of our daughter's 1-month milestone, Mrs. Reed cooked another celebratory meal. Come on, let's eat. A family reunion. Mom, we're not a family. Charlotte corrected her automatically. You have a child together. How are you not a family? Mrs. Reed shot her a look. Don't be difficult. After dinner, Charlotte took the baby to bed. Mrs. Reed asked to speak with me alone. Ethan, I want to talk to you. Of course, Mrs. Reed. Charlotte. She has a tough exterior, but she's soft on the inside, she began with a sigh. I know a little about what happened between you two back then. I listened quietly. The old you. He did some things that weren't right, she said, choosing her words carefully. But I could always tell that you loved her. You just didn't know how. Now, with your memory gone, it's like you're a different person. I've been watching you these past few months. You're a good man. Thank you. I just want to ask, what are your intentions towards Charlotte now? I thought for a moment. I respect her decision, whatever it is. No matter what, I'll always be our daughter's father, and I'll always be there for them. Mrs. Reed nodded, satisfied. That's a good way to think. Just take it slow. You never know how things will turn out. When our daughter was 2 months old, Charlotte announced she was ready to move back to the city. I have to get back to work, she said. So soon. I worried about her recovery. The company needs me. I knew there was no arguing with her, so I helped her pack. Back in her villa, she hired a full-time nanny and threw herself back into her work. I kept up my routine, visiting after work and spending weekends with the baby. You can take her to your place for the night, she offered one Friday. I was stunned. Really? Are you sure? You're her father. Of course I'm sure. That first night alone with my daughter, I was so nervous I didn't sleep a wink. I was terrified she'd cry, that I wouldn't know what to do. The next day, when I brought her back, Charlotte laughed at the dark circles under my eyes. Rough night. She only woke up twice. It's normal. You'll get used to it. Slowly, we settled into a rhythm. She had our daughter during the week, and I had her on weekends. We weren't back together, but we were becoming a surprisingly effective co-parenting team. My colleagues all knew I had a baby now. Leah even brought by a gift. She's adorable, Leah cooed, playing with the baby. She looks just like you, more like her mom. Leah glanced at me. Do you still love her? The question caught me off guard. Love? I had no memory of the love I once felt. But this new feeling, I don't know, I answered honestly, but I'm grateful to her, and I want to protect them. That's enough, Leah said with a gentle smile. The rest will figure itself out. Julian still came around for work meetings. I could tell that whatever had been between them was now strictly professional. The baby's cute, he commented once when he saw me holding her. Thanks. He looked from me to Charlotte, then back again. Don't you two get tired of this? What do you mean? Charlotte asked, frowning. Pretending to be strangers when you're obviously still in love with each other. Julian, Charlotte's voice was a sharp warning. He shrugged. Just saying. After he left, the air was thick with tension. Don't listen to him, Charlotte muttered, busying herself with some papers. I know, but his words had planted a seed of doubt. Were we really just doing this for the baby? When our daughter was 6 months old, she said her first word. Dad, she babbled, reaching her little arms out to me. My heart melted. She said it. She said my name. I looked at Charlotte, my face split by a massive grin. Charlotte was smiling too. A real, genuine smile. Yes, she did. So clearly. I picked up our daughter and spun her around, and she shrieked with laughter. Be careful, Charlotte cautioned, though she was laughing too. Don't worry, I've got her. That night, we put her to bed together. As we stood over her crib, watching her tiny chest rise and fall, neither of us wanted to leave. You could stay tonight, Charlotte said, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. In the guest room. Okay. Lying in the guest room bed, listening to the faint sounds from the nursery next door, I was filled with a profound sense of warmth. We weren't a family yet, but we were trying. We were building something new from the rubble of the past. Maybe Mrs. Ree was right. You never know how things will turn out. Our daughter was 8 months old when everything changed. It was a Saturday, and I had taken her to the park. On our way back, we ran into Julian. Fancy seeing you here, he said, smiling at the baby. Yeah, small world. Can we talk for a minute? We found a bench near the playground. Our daughter was happily playing with a toy in her stroller. Do you know why Charlotte never told you she was pregnant? He asked out of the blue. I figured she didn't want to be tied to me anymore. He shook his head. That's not the whole story. What do you mean? He was silent for a moment. You know what? It's not my place. She should be the one to tell you. Julian, what are you trying to say? I just think you're both lying to yourselves, he said, looking at me intently. Ethan, are you sure you don't remember anything? I'm sure. Have you ever wondered why you have amnesia? I frowned. The car accident. And what caused the accident? I froze. I had never once thought to ask. Never mind, he said, standing up. Just take care of her. He walked away, leaving me stunned. The baby seemed to sense my distress and reached out to touch my face. Dada. I snapped back to reality, kissing her small hand. Daddy's okay. That evening, when I brought our daughter home, Charlotte was working in her study. You're back, she said without looking up. Yeah, she's asleep. I paused at the door. Charlotte, can I ask you something? What is it? My car accident. How did it happen? Her hand froze over her keyboard. She looked up, her expression guarded. Why are you suddenly asking about that? Just curious. She let out a long breath. It was raining hard. You'd been drinking, and you insisted on driving over to find me. What? She looked away. We had a fight. What did we fight about? She was silent for a long time. The baby. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? That day, I told you I might be pregnant, she said, her voice barely a whisper. You got very excited. You said some things. What did I say? You said that with a baby, I could never leave you. You said you were going to tell everyone, to make Julian finally give up. I closed my eyes, the scene playing out in my mind with horrifying clarity, even without the memory. I was furious, she continued. I told you that if you were just going to use our child as a weapon, then I'd rather not have it at all. You just snapped. You stormed out, screaming that you were going to prove something to me. And then I crashed the car. Yes. Her eyes were red. You were in the hospital for 3 days. When you woke up, you didn't remember anything. So that was it. That's why you never told me you were pregnant. I was afraid, she confessed, her voice thick with emotion. I was terrified you'd turn back into the man you were before. The new you, the you with amnesia. You gave me hope. I didn't want to lose that. I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? She wiped a tear from her cheek. I'm the one who should be sorry. If I hadn't said those things, you never would have. It's in the past, I said, walking over and handing her tissue. What matters is now. She took it, then looked up at me. Ethan, do you hate me? Why would I hate you? For how I treated you. For all the horrible things I said. I thought for a moment. Hate is a strong word. But honestly, I'm mostly just filled with guilt. I don't remember it, but I read the diary. I know I did terrible things to you. We were both wrong, she whispered. Yeah, we were. We sat in silence for a moment. You know, she said, in a strange way, this is better. What is this? Us now. She glanced toward the nursery. For our daughter's sake, we're both trying to be better people. After that conversation, something shifted between us. The carefully constructed walls we'd built began to crumble. We no longer tiptoed around the past or pretended to be strangers. We were still living in separate rooms, but our home started to feel less like a timeshare and more like a real home. For our daughter's first birthday, Charlotte suggested a small party. Just a few close friends and family. Sound great. The guest list was short. Mrs. Reed, a few of Charlotte's friends, and to my surprise, Leah. I invited her, Charlotte explained. She's been such a good friend to you. Leah arrived with a giant stuffed giraffe. Happy birthday, little princess. Our daughter clapped her hands in delight. When it was time to cut the cake, our friends started chanting for us to hold a knife together. Come on, you two. For the baby, Mrs. Reed urged, giving Charlotte a little nudge. We looked at each other, and a silent, understanding passed between us. We reached for the knife together, our hands brushing. A camera flashed, capturing the moment. They look so good together, someone whispered. A faint blush colored Charlotte's cheeks, and I felt my own face grow warm. After the party, I stayed to help clean up. Thank you for today, she said. For what? For everything you've done this past year, she said, her gaze direct and sincere. I don't know how I would have gotten through it alone. It was my pleasure. By the time we finished, it was late. Our daughter was fast asleep in her crib. You know, you don't have to go, Charlotte said quietly. It's late. It's not safe to be out. My heart hammered against my ribs. Okay, I was still in the guest room, but this time it felt different. Later that night, the baby started crying. I was about to get up when I heard Charlotte already soothing her. Peeking through the cracked door, I saw her rocking our daughter, humming a soft lullaby. The moonlight streaming through the window cast a silvery glow around her. She looked like a painting. Dada, the baby whimpered, spotting me in the doorway. I walked in and took her from Charlotte's arms. I've got her. You go back to sleep. Let's do it together, she said. We sat on the edge of her bed, our daughter between us, and she quickly drifted back to sleep. Ethan, Charlotte whispered in the quiet room. Yeah. Have you ever thought about what would have happened if you hadn't lost your memory? I considered it. We'd probably still be torturing each other, or we'd be long divorced. Maybe. She turned to look at me. Do you regret it? Regret what? Losing all those memories. I shook my head. No. I don't know how much I loved you before, but I know that I cherish you and our daughter now, more than anything. Her eyes glistened in the moonlight. There's something I never told you. What is it? Before your accident, I was already starting to come around. Her voice was soft. You were changing. You weren't so obsessive anymore. I was learning to understand you. Then why do we fight like that? I guess there's just too much baggage, she said with a sad smile. Any little thing could set off years of resentment. What a shame. Yeah. She looked down at our sleeping daughter. But maybe this was all for the best. It gave us both a chance to start over. The first hints of dawn were breaking. You should get some sleep, I said. You too. I started to head back to the guest room, but she stopped me. Ethan. Yeah. Stay, she whispered. Just stay here. Our daughter needs her dad to be here. My heart pounded in my chest, but I calmly lay down on the other side of the big bed. Our daughter slept between us, a tiny bridge connecting two broken shores. As the morning sun filtered through the curtains, I opened my eyes and found Charlotte watching me. Morning, she said. Morning. The baby was still asleep. We lay there in the quiet, just looking at each other. And in that moment, I knew we really could start again. From that day on, I moved back into the villa for good. Officially, it was to make co-parenting easier. Unofficially, we both knew it was a new beginning. You're still sleeping in the guest room, Charlotte stipulated. Of course. Living under the same roof again, a new domestic rhythm emerged. I started waking up early to make breakfast. She'd help me with my tie before I left for work. In the evenings, we'd put our daughter to bed together before retreating to our separate rooms. We looked like a normal family, except for the invisible wall between our bedrooms. What exactly is this arrangement? Julian asked one day when he came by to discuss business and found us acting like a comfortable, old married couple. You're playing housemates when you're obviously still in love. We're divorced, Charlotte reminded him, her cheeks flushing. So get remarried, Julian said with a shrug. This whole act, you're just fooling yourselves. Julian, Charlotte warned. Fine, I'll drop it. He looked from me to her. But for what it's worth, you two have a better relationship now than most married couples I know. Why not give it a real shot? He turned to me. By the way, Ethan, I have to tell you something. What? His expression turned serious. Someone's been asking questions about you, too. I've seen some unfamiliar guys hanging around the office building, asking the security guards about your schedules. A knot of unease tightened in my stomach. Ooh, I don't know, but it can't be good. He looked at Charlotte. Have you made any enemies recently? Charlotte frowned. Business is competitive, but I can't imagine it would escalate to... Just be careful, Julian said, standing up, especially with the baby. Don't let her out of your sight. His warning left us both on edge. You think he's overreacting? Charlotte asked. Better safe than sorry, I said, looking at her seriously. From now on, I'll drive you to and from work. And the nanny shouldn't take the baby out of the house alone. Okay, for the next few days, we were hypervigilant. I became Charlotte's personal chauffeur, and the baby was kept inside the villa. The feeling of being watched was suffocating. Then, one night, Our fears materialized. Charlotte was working late, and I drove to her office to pick her up. As I pulled into the parking garage, I spotted several men lurking in the shadows. I immediately called her. Charlotte, don't come down. There's trouble. What kind of trouble? Some suspicious guys. Stay in your office. I'm calling the police. But it was too late. The elevator doors dinged open, and Charlotte walked out. Ethan, look out, she screamed. I spun around just as a baseball bat swung at my head. I ducked instinctively, and the bat slammed against the car's hood with a sickening crunch. Run! I grabbed Charlotte's hand and pulled her along. We could hear footsteps pounding on the pavement behind us. In here, Charlotte yanked me into a narrow service alley. We pressed ourselves against the cold brick wall, holding our breath, our hearts hammering. The footsteps faded into the distance. Are you hurt? I whispered, checking her over. No. She was trembling. Who were they? Why? My phone rang. An unknown number. Answer it, Charlotte urged. Ethan Hayes, a gravelly voice said on the other end. Consider tonight a warning. Who is this? That's not important. What's important is that someone doesn't want to see you two playing happy family. What are you talking about? Leave Charlotte Reed. Take the kid and disappear. Otherwise, next time it won't be just a warning. The line went dead. I looked at Charlotte, her face pale in the dim light. They're targeting us, I said. We have to go to the police. And say what? She asked with a bitter laugh. They didn't even touch us. Then what do we do? She was silent for a long time. Ethan, maybe you should take our daughter and leave. What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What are you saying? I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Tears streamed down her face. If you're in danger because of my business. Don't be ridiculous. I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight. We're a family. We face this together. But, no buts, I said, my voice firm. I don't care who is trying to hurt us. I will not let them win. She sobbed in my arms for a long time. In that moment, holding her, I realized something profound. Amnesia hadn't erased my ability to love. For this woman, and for our child, I would gladly lay down my life.